Marcus Monzo has been found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of 14-year-old Daniel Angerin. Now, this case hasn't really had much exposure, or not from what I've seen. Obviously, I did hear about it when it happened at the time, which was in April of last year, 2024. But this case has got a lot of twists and turns to it, and it is a harrowing case. Now, I will play the video for you in a little while of the actual day when he actually assaulted someone in his van, rammed them with his van, then ran after them with a sword. So, Marcus Monzo is a Brazilian national who moved to London in 2013. And it is saying the reasons behind this attack, which I find quite ludicrous, is because of his cannabis use. He was in a cannabis-induced state, and this is his defense, or his reasoning. And this is what they've actually said about it. He was in a psychotic state because of his cannabis use. When do you hear of people smoking cannabis and going on a spree like this, killing people, or killing one person and attempting to kill another 3 other? Because as well as the murder of poor little Daniel Angerin, he was found guilty of a further 3 attempted murders, 2 counts of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, aggravated burglary, and having a bladed article. Now, as well, he was sentenced, initially it was going to be 50 years life with a recommendation of 50 years. But he got a reduced sentence of 20%, taking it down to 40 years minus the time he spent on remand. This is what I find ludicrous as well, which I will talk about, because normally when you plead guilty, you get 30% or sometimes 25% off, so you don't have to put the victims' families or the victims through the trial. You get what's called a guilty plea, and you get time took off. Obviously, he's went not guilty, been found guilty, but still had that time knocked off. And it's saying, the judge has said, the reason why he's took that sentence, or took the 20% off, because he's took into consideration his previous good character and the fact that it was due to the cannabis use why he done it. Absolute farce, if you ask me. Now, here's the video of the actual offence when it took place.
Sharing. I'm sharing here. Just sharing my sword.
He just killed that boy. He just killed him.
Line close, more units, more units! Drop it now!
Units line close, make control.
There's anybody here who believes in God? Drop it! Are there gods here? Drop! Are there gods or gods? Drop it! Drop it! Fall! Police officer stopped! Police officer stopped! Run down! Oi! He's going in people's gardens, man. Lock your doors! Lock your doors!
So as you can see in the video there, the first victim is the one that's been rammed in the van, which he then chased after, and it says that he cut his neck. Then people were out in the streets. I do remember seeing this one when not long after it happened, when it was reported in the news. And all the neighbours, or some of the neighbours were out rather, screaming and shouting, telling people to get back. Now poor Daniel Angerin, 14-year-old, someone of previous good character or a good background himself, come from a very good family. Mum and dad married. His father was a doctor, Dr. Angerin. And this poor defenceless boy had his headphones in on the way to school. So whenever people were out in the streets shouting for everyone, pleading for them to get back, because this lunatic Marcus Monzo was on the loose with his 3-foot samurai sword running around the streets. Now poor Daniel had his headphones in. So when they were shouting, watch your back, he never heard a thing. He was in his own little world, on his way to school with his headphones on, in a happy state of mind. And this absolute despicable human being come up behind him and chopped him with that 3-foot samurai sword and killed him. The wound was so severe, he could not have survived it. Now, what I find strange about this case, what I was mentioning at the beginning, is the fact that it didn't get as many headlines as it should have. Now, this is an innocent 14-year-old boy on the way to school. And I think the reason behind it, why it didn't get as much publicity as it should have, is because down in London, this is an everyday or every week occurrence where young men are getting killed of other gang members. It's normally gang members down in London, postcode wars, which is an everyday occurrence, as you well know. Now, this young man or young boy wasn't from any of them sort of backgrounds. He was an innocent boy on the way to school. And I do feel like it should have had more publicity around this case. If you remember back, it's another one of those cases that I remember when I was in school. I was a teenager and Damilola Taylor was murdered. He was 10-year-old. It's the same sort of thing. But that case was widespread. Everybody knew about it. But because over the years, these type of offences are becoming an everyday occurrence, the poor victims aren't getting the publicity that they deserve. It's the only way of putting it. But this is an innocent young schoolboy who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it was nothing to do with his lifestyle or his background. But another thing I'll mention as well, if you notice, when the coppers are trying to apprehend him at first, they've got the CS gas out, the parva spray, and they're shouting, drop the weapon, get back, drop it, before even releasing the spray. You've seen the video I've done of the old bloke, 90-odd-year-old in a nursing home, who was sitting on a chair, who couldn't have done anything with one leg. They didn't give him the chance. They weren't shouting, put your weapon down. They unloaded a full tin of parva spray and tasered him whilst sitting in a chair with one leg in a nursing home. But yet this fucking lunatic, who deserved every bit of beating and every bit of kicking off the coppers, what they should be doing afterwards, what they normally do, they just shout and get back. But then he's went on to chop the coppers, chop one of them in the hand. The police officer's got his hand nearly hanging off. Then he's managed to escape, run over a shed, the garages, into the backyards, and then he's went on to get into someone's house. The couple, Cindy and Henry, who had the 4-year-old child in the house, and Henry is being attacked as well. This is the other attempted murders. Luckily, he managed to survive the attack, and then the coppers did eventually apprehend him not long after. As you can see, the tasering him, which they should have done from the start, so he couldn't have gotten anywhere else. But hopefully after they've tasered him, he's getting a bit of police justice, what you can say. Probably didn't happen because obviously body-worn cameras are over the top of him. But back in the day, people used to get a good kicking off the coppers, but the way things are these days, with body cams and everything, it works both ways. Obviously, people who are out committing crimes don't want CCTV or body cams, but then again, the coppers or even prison officers who've got body cams, they can't get away with giving a bit of justice, which is deserved, because this fucking horrible piece of shit should have had 10 tons of shit kicked out of him off the coppers on the way to the police station and in the police station. But like I say, because of the body cams, it probably didn't happen. But I'll get back to the sentencing as well. They even took his remand time off. I was in prison in high security jail with lads who had waited 3 years to go up on trial. These lads obviously involved in gang warfare. They've killed other gang members. But because they've waited 3 years, there was one lad who got a 30-year recommendation, but he'd done 3 years on remand, waiting for trial. He got found guilty, got given 30 years, and they said, you start your sentence from today. So he's really doing a 33-year sentence. But yet, Marcus Monzo, they've given him his remand time back, and they've took 20% off because he's had previous good character. And it was suffering with mental health. But he got assessed, and they did say that this couldn't have been down to his mental health. That's why he didn't get diminished responsibility. He was found guilty on the murder and the attempted murders. But for me, the judge shouldn't have took any time off. They should have made him start his sentence there and then. And then Marcus Monzo is on his way to high security prisons, because I believe he was getting held in Belmarsh. He's obviously still going to be at Belmarsh at the moment because he's just been sentenced. But he'll be on his way to a high security prison, and he will end up on the bacon wings, the nonce wings, because that is exactly what he is. Even though you've seen on my channel, a bacon is classed as someone that's done something against kids, not just physically, but obviously the other way, the S offences. But someone like this who has killed a young boy is also classed as a bacon and has no place on the normal locations with the general population lads. But it has been known these type of offenders do try to get on general population because they don't want to live with the bacons. So he could, at one point, try and get on a normal location, but I'm sure a lot of people will know who he is and know his face and know the name, and they'll be keeping an eye out for him in the high security prison. So he will come unstuck at some point in his sentence because of what he's done. And that horrible piece of shit, which I will describe him as, will be suffering on the bacon wings for the rest of his life. I'll get him back to the cannabis use. It was saying that he was smoking £100 worth a day, and this is what caused his induced psychosis. And he said he thought he was an assassin in a game. What a load of bullshit. For starters, £100 worth a day. That's a mighty lot of weed to be smoking in one day, which I don't think will be true, unless he's getting ripped off and they're just giving him little bits for that amount of money. But this is just another excuse for him to try to get diminished responsibility and try to get off with this. But like I say, that is the rundown of that case, and that's what I thought about the sentence, and I thought it was absolutely ludicrous. So the other victims who were attacked was PC Yasmin Whitfield and Inspector Malloy Campbell, who was the first responders on the scene. And the one that was rammed in the van, I believe, was Donato Ewul. And that was all the victims that were involved in that case. But let us know your thoughts in the comments, what you think of this case, what you think of the police who were first there about the pava spray. Why not just release it as soon as you see them? And what do you think about the sentence? And let us know in the comments, people. But I will keep you updated with more of these type of cases. So keep your eyes out. Keep watching. Get that notification bell on. And if you are enjoying the content, remember to comment like and subscribe. Take care everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe.